All right, so here's a question for you. How many times do you open an email and the first line says, "I hope you're well," especially when you don't even know that person? Well, there is one person who knows all about not just hoping you're well, but the science behind it. And we are so excited to welcome Libby Gill. Libby is the keynote speaker when you join us for IAPA FEC Summit 2026. Libby, we are so excited to have you with us. Libby Gill is an executive coach, leadership expert, and award-winning author. She guides emerging and established leaders to inspire purpose and drive performance. She is the former head of communications for Sony, Universal, and Turner Broadcasting. She's appeared on CBS, CNN, NBC, and NPR, along with sharing her insights with the New York Times, Time Magazine, and the Wall Street Journal. As I mentioned, she is an author with 6 books, including The Hope-Driven Leader. Libby, thanks so much for joining us. First question, in your book, The Hope-Driven Leader, you talk about hope theory. What exactly is hope theory?
Well, we usually think of hope as something sort of abstract or mushy, but hope theory is the science of hopefulness. It has been studied and researched, and what I did is took that research and data and applied it to the business and the leadership world. And it's comprised of 3 key things. The first are goals. You know, we know all about goals, but these are not just everyday kinds of actions. These are when you set the bar high enough to achieve significant accomplishments, big things. Second, it's agency. It's your ability, your skills, your capabilities to make things happen, to take those actions all the way to achievement. And finally, and this is something most people don't think about, it's pathways. It's the multiple ways you can reach those accomplishments. We used to think of, there's one path, it's speed up the assembly line, but we don't live in that era anymore. It's about information, imagination. So hope is about putting all of those things together. And then I always add, it is having that high level vision that is fueled by passion, but grounded in pragmatism.
Ooh, all right. So you leave us kind of right there. It sounds amazing, but is there any science behind that hope theory can help us grow, let's say, as leaders and teams of people?
Absolutely. That's why it is the science of hopefulness. There's hope and there's hope theory. And there are 2 primary scientists that became the researchers and the founders behind this. And there's a lot of data in my book, and I'll share a little bit at the summit about what hopefulness means to you as a leader. But some of the studies include, there's one study by psychologist Dr. Shane Lopez, who looked at students. He looked at academia, and if all conditions are relatively even and equal, he said that of people who score high on a hope quiz, and I've got this available to people, I'm going to give them what's called the Adult Dispositional Hope Scale that measures how hopeful you are. But if everything's equal, folks who identify as high hope versus their low hope counterparts, they do better in academics, they get better business results, and they are happier overall. So that's just one.
That's just one.
That's just one. There's a more dramatic one, and this one really caught my eye. And it's a study that came out of the University of Texas in San Antonio. And there, the study was looking at the relationship between hopelessness, not hopefulness, but hopelessness and mortality. And this study followed a group of people for 5 years. And at the beginning, it found that people who scored low on the hope scale and identified as hopeless were more likely to be smokers, less likely to socialize, more likely to be depressed than their more hopeful counterparts who regularly socialized, who exercised, who took care of themselves. And then looking at that same group 5 years later, without any kind of medical or healthcare intervention, 29% of the people who said they were hopeless had passed away, while only 11% of the hopeful people had died at that point. So what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that I have some work to do because I took the quiz. I'm not going to share exactly what my score was, but let's just say here in 2026, I have some work to do. And speaking of work to do, you are going to share more of this at IAPA FEC Summit 2026, taking place in Glendale, Arizona, February 1st through the 3rd. Tell me, how can FEC owners and operators benefit from hope theory?
Well, just think about if you have the ability to not only set a high level vision, here's where I'm taking the business, because it's all about growth and longevity. That's what we're looking for. Multiple revenue streams. We want to continue to not just do what we're doing today, but grow our business, change and grow with the times. Everything's always changing. So you need to be able to have that vision, to articulate it to others in a way that's so engaging, that's so visceral, that they want to jump on board, that they understand, that your team members understand their role within within the organization, and they also feel valued for what they're contributing to the company. And think about how that goes to the end user, who are, of course, your customers, and even better, your returning and your regular customers. So having leaders set the tone. Business owners, from everything that they do, how they greet their employees in the morning to how they give their annual appraisals, they really set the tone for the business. And being conscious of that changes how you treat people.
It's amazing because we've always heard of that term, it rolls downhill, that if the person at the top leads with hope and not fear, that's going to continue through the employee's performance and then how they treat their guest, guaranteeing that folks will have a good time and then thus come back, which then generates more revenue.
Absolutely. And you also want to encourage people's imaginations. Like I said, this is not the industrial age. This is about imagination and engagement. Yeah. So letting people share ideas, even if you've been in business for 30 years and you know you've heard it all, you cannot shut down people who want to contribute, who want to bounce ideas around. Put an ear out, listen to them, value their contributions and what they have to say. You never know where that next great idea is coming from.
All right, Libby, tell me, what do you hope attendees at FEC Summit 2026 will take away with them?
Well, I hope that they get a better understanding of their own leadership style, their own superpower, and how to lean into that and build upon that. That's going to really affect their team members and their own growth. I want them also to look at longevity strategies and to share. I know this is a really sharing kind of group and organization. So I want folks at the summit to be able to share some ideas with one another. And I've got a framework and kind of a way that we're going to do that so people can walk away with fresh ideas. Gee, that worked over there. I'm going to try that in my business. And most of all, I want them to have a framework, a structure for leading through change, because that's the only constant, as we know, in this business or any other. And how you manage that and how you get people feeling hopeful about the changes that are to come, including things that some of us find sort of scary, like all the AI and all of the things that are happening in the world. You've got to get people to change their perspective and look at that as opportunity for growth, not something to shy away from.
Executive coach, leadership expert, and award-winning author, Libby Gill, we are so excited to welcome you to the FEC Summit stage when our attendees join us in Glendale, Arizona, February 1st through the 3rd. Our keynote speaker, I cannot wait.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for your wisdom and your insight. And to learn more about IAPA FEC Summit 2026, head to our website, iapa.org/FEC Summit 2026.